Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. Hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. Guys, make sure to smash the like button on this video. Hit the subscribe button. As you guys know, I really need you to smash the like button. Guys, what I'm going to do from now on, or not from now on, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to try changing the way I deliver the videos, in the sense that I know I normally upload 2 videos a day. What I'm going to do is I'm going to deliver one, but I'm going to make them longer. So I'm going to talk about everything that I need to talk about. I think that might be a better structure for the algorithm and for the channel. And eventually, you know, on occasion, I might release 2 videos. It just depends. Ideally, I like to release more videos just because I think it's better. But I think this may help the algorithm, especially for medium to smaller channels like mine. I think by me doing one video and maybe having a longer video which discusses a lot of things, probably would be better for the algorithm. And then in the future, you can always change that out once the algorithm is, or you gain a lot of subscribers, or you see that your views have increased to a point where you can. Because what happens is, one thing I've noticed with YouTube is that when you upload too many videos, YouTube doesn't promote your videos as much. Whereas if you're releasing one, I think YouTube pushes your videos out more. So I think it would probably help me and help my channel if I was to do a longer video which talking about all the things. I know some of you said in the past that you prefer there's 2 videos, because then I can talk about the topic that I want to talk about in more depth. But I will go into depth. I think the video will be long. And long enough where I'll talk enough depth about everything. And I think it just makes more sense because I can discuss everything that I need to discuss in that one video. And it helps the algorithm. It's more just to see what impact it has, because I've seen others do that and actually have a successful model by doing it. So I'm gonna try it and see how it is. I'm also sorry, guys. I know I have not been going live of late, and a lot of you have said that what's going on, where's your lives? I am going to go live. Hopefully we can go this weekend sometime. It's just that I've just been all over the place, so I haven't gone live, but I will definitely look to go live soon, and we'll get it back rolling where we'll do at least once a week at least. But let's get into this. Let's get into this, guys. There's been some interesting news by Alexander Gvodyzk. Now, Gvodyzk said that he felt that Canelo Alvarez won the first fight against Bivol, which I found very startling, to be brutally honest with you. I know Gvodyzk was sparring partner of Canelo Alvarez, and him making those comments were absurd, saying that he thought that Canelo actually won the fight. And then he said he rewatched it, and he said actually that he thinks Canelo can win the rematch. Now, I think that's the most absurd comment. I don't think I've heard anything more. I think that's probably as bad as Evander Holyfield saying that Pacquiao beat Floyd, but it's even worse, because I don't even think Canelo fans thought, Canelo hardcore fans didn't even think he won that fight. So for Gvodyzk to come out with that comment, I don't know whether he's saying it because he became close with Canelo, or he's looking for future work with, with Canelo. I don't know, but it was an absolute ridiculous comment, because there's no way Canelo won that fight. He was totally outboxed, and for me, lost 10-2, 9-3, 8-4 max. So I think that comment from Alexander Gvodyzk was crazy. No way Canelo won that fight. It was a relatively one-sided fight, and one that Bivol deserved to win. He won pretty handily. I think most of us would agree that there's no way that Canelo won that fight. And for Gvodyzk, maybe, like I said, maybe Gvodyzk's looking for some future work with Canelo. But yeah, I thought Canelo lost pretty handily, to be honest, in that fight. And I think it's going to be a tough rematch for him. I think it's going to be a tough fight. I'm not sure Canelo can beat Bivol. Maybe that weight class is just a step too far. We've spoken about this many times before, but that comment from Alexander Gvodyzk really got me. It was like, wow, I don't think any expert or any fan of Canelo even thought Canelo won that fight. And that just shows how one-sided it was, because normally if it's a close fight, you know, you get the fans of a certain fighter that will sway and say, oh no, Canelo won that fight, you know, and this, that, and the other. But I honestly, I've got a lot of Canelo fans that watch my channel. Nobody even on my channel that came on and said Bivol lost that fight. They all felt Bivol won that fight. So yeah, I don't see how anyone can push a narrative that Canelo won that fight. I don't even think the fight was that close. I thought it was pretty one-sided. I thought Bivol did a great job. He neutralized Canelo, and it was a great performance, and he deserved the win. I don't think anyone can say any different, really. I think it was a pretty conclusive win for Dmitry Bivol. And now, you know, can Canelo win the rematch? I do think that he can. I wouldn't be picking him, but he can. You can't write someone like Canelo off, can you? He's too good a fighter, and he's achieved so much in the sport, and he's obviously a very skilled and very good fighter, so you can't write him off completely. But the way the first fight went, the skill set of Dmitry Bivol, it does seem very hard for Canelo Alvarez to reverse or overturn that fight, because Bivol is just so skilled, he's so big, and it's hard to see Canelo Alvarez being able to win that fight. If I'm being brutally honest, I think it would be very difficult for him to win that. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe Canelo Alvarez can beat Bivol in that rematch, and that's why I think it would be an intriguing fight. It'd be an intriguing rematch, and I do think Canelo Alvarez will take that rematch. But yeah, that's my take on that. I think Canelo Alvarez will take the fight. Again, do I think he wins? Probably not. But I do think there's a chance he can win, and I think that's what will cause a lot of people to watch that fight. I think the rematch will be massive. But moving on, guys, I saw something from Demetrius Andrade which I thought was pretty embarrassing. And a lot of you think that I dislike Demetrius Andrade. I don't like him. No, I've always liked Andrade. But Andrade today called out Chris Eubank Jr. and the video was pretty embarrassing. It was pretty embarrassing. You know, Andrade seemed like he almost... there was a lot of people commenting under the video as well that you sound drunk. Like it's as if he was... as if he was making that video drunk, you know. It just seemed really sad for Andrade. And it's almost like Andrade is basically backed in a corner. Someone said yesterday on Twitter that he's been backed into a corner. That no promoter wants to work with him. Nobody really values Andrade. And Andrade's in a position now where he's been ordered to fight Janibek. But to be honest with you, it's not a big fight. Financially, it'll probably be decent money. You know, Andrade probably gets paid decent money, but he's looking for the real big fights, and no one's really fighting him. And it's sad when somebody's calling out Chris Eubank for his name, because really Chris Eubank's not even that credible opponent, but he's basically telling Chris Eubank to fight himself and not Conor Benn. Now, I personally think that Andrade Eubank fights should be a more attractive fight for Eubank if he's got world title ambitions. The only problem is with that Andrade fight, the WBO have ordered Andrade to fight Janibek. So even if Eubank does take the fight, it might not be for the WBO belt. Because Andrade was talking about super middleweight. That's why I didn't understand. Why is he calling Eubank out for a fight at super middleweight? It's not going to be for a world title because Andrade holds nothing at super middleweight. So I think Andrade, it's a sign of desperation from Andrade. I think if Andrade gets a fight with Chris Eubank maybe at super middleweight, he can vacate the WBO belt because it'll be a big money fight. Andrade's probably looking for the big money fight. But I think Andrade now is in a very difficult spot. No promoter does want to work with him. He can't seem to secure a big fight. And now he's going to the lengths of calling out Chris Eubank, who really isn't even a, like, it's a big fight financially. It would be a big fight because it could be a big fight here in the UK. But what does that fight mean for Demetrius Andrade? It's not like he'll be fighting a top tier opponent. I personally think a fight that if Demetrius Andrade is looking for a fight at super middleweight, I think Billy Joe probably makes more sense. They've got history. They had their first fight cancelled because of the drugs scandal thing with Billy Joe. So I think that fight probably is a lot more attractive. And I would like to see that fight. And also Billy Joe responded to that underneath the video that Chris Eubank, that Demetrius Andrade calling out Chris Eubank. So that could be a fight, which if he, and I think it'd be a big money fight as well. I think, I'm not sure which fight's bigger, Eubank or Saunders, but I think the Saunders fight will be pretty big and he'll get paid well for that one as well, especially here in the UK. I definitely think they could do a small football stadium. You know, he was going to sell out Pride Park with Zach Parker. Billy Joe's a bigger name than Zach Parker. So, for me personally, I like the Billy Joe fight. I like Andrade and Billy Joe at super middleweight. But again, if Andrade doesn't fight Janibek, he will get criticized by a lot of the fans for avoiding. They'll say he's avoiding Janibek. But again, Andrade's in a very difficult spot right now. I feel sorry for the guy. I do. I genuinely feel sorry for him. Sorry for him in the sense that he's making these videos, and the video was almost like hard to watch in the sense he sounded like as almost like a plea, a desperation. And like I said, he sounded a bit weird in the video. Go watch it if you haven't watched it. But yeah, really desperate times for Demetrius Andrade. Very talented fighter, a guy that really hasn't had much backing by any promoter. He hasn't really had much support. He hasn't really had any meaningful fights in his whole career. You know, he's 35, 34 years of age. It's sad. It's sad, and it's not good for the sport. When I think about it, it's horrible for the sport that somebody that talented has just been wasted away and not got a meaningful fight. And now he's making these videos trying to get fights with X, Y, and Z. But, you know, no one's interested. You know, Chris Eubank's going to probably fight Conor Benn. And Andrade is, in my opinion, Andrade's got to fight Janibek. I don't think there's any way out for him, if I'm honest with you. I think he's going to have to fight Janibek. Otherwise, he's going to look like a total duck if he avoids that fight now. Especially now that he's come back down to 160, or he's effectively still fighting at 160. I think the Eubank fight is one that he'd probably vacate his title because he probably wouldn't care. But why is Eubank going to fight Andrade if he hasn't got no belt? Because it's not like Andrade's a big name. He might as well fight Conor Benn. Yeah, Andrade's a more credible opponent than Conor Benn. Andrade's achieved more. He's a better fighter. But at the end of the day, why does Eubank care about that? Eubank's never been a world champion. If Andrade had a world title at middleweight, and if Eubank could fight him for that title at middleweight, which Eubank is at middleweight, but the problem is Andrade isn't going to be able to fight him for his world title because he has to fight Janibek next. The WBO have ordered that fight. So the Eubank fight can't happen next. So Eubank fighting Andrade for nothing doesn't really mean anything. So Eubank might as well fight Conor Benn. Do you see what I mean? So Andrade ain't going to get that fight unless he has a world title. And I would say if Andrade has that world title and that fight can be made for the world title, then Chris Eubank would be, in my opinion, crazy not to take the Andrade fight, because he can make that big money with Conor Benn later. But he needs to get a chance to fight for a world title. But he may look at it, Ben's an easy fight. It's easy money. The guy's a small guy. It's a huge money fight for me. I beat him. I'm gonna beat him. My profile's gonna grow even more, and then it'll be even easier for me to get a world title shot, and also I'll get paid more for my world title shot. That's how Eubank may be looking at it. Although I think it's a lack of ambition fighting Conor Benn, it might work out well for him in the long run. So, because I think Eubank will beat Conor Benn, I can't see Eubank losing to Conor Benn. So the thing is, if he beats Conor Benn, his profile is going to rise, even though I think it shouldn't, because he's fighting a welterweight effectively and a small guy. So it shouldn't rise, but it will. And then he can use that clout that he's got fighting for a world title. You know, and if it's not Eubank, he might be able to get a Janibek fight. So Eubank's in a great position. And it's crazy that someone like Eubank may have made more money than Andrade, even though Andrade's a better fighter and achieved more. Eubank, because of his dad's name, here in the UK, he's been able to secure some decent fights, some big money fights. But he's probably, the best is still yet to come in terms of the big money fights. You know, if he gets a Conor Benn fight, that's probably going to be his biggest payday. And then if he wins that, he's going to get some more big paydays as well. So Eubank's financially doing very well, and it's not going to ever be hard for Eubank to get big fights, to be brutally honest, because of his name. But yeah, I thought the Andrade situation was pretty sad. I really hope Andrade can secure a big fight. Not just the fact that for us fans to find out how good he is, but for himself, so he can be at ease. Because if he keeps going like this and eventually retires without any meaningful fight, you know, he might in years to come regret it, may not be in a great place. We don't know, because he's never really got a big fight. And also financially, let's hope he can make enough money. I think Andrade gets paid well for his world title defenses, but even then, he wouldn't have made crazy amount of money. I don't think he's made life-changing sums of money, because I don't think his fights are no entity. They're not big fights. They're small fights. When we think about it, his fights are small fights. You know, how much would he be getting paid to fight Quigley, or to fight Cotton Dokwa, or to fight, you know, Liam Williams? I don't know. Maybe he's getting $2 million, or, you know, which is a lot of money, really. Especially for that level of fight. He's probably got paid well, because he was with Eddie Hearn when I think he was one of the first guys on DAZN for Eddie Hearn. He was one of the first guys that Eddie signed. So, and Eddie was paying ridiculous amounts of money. So he was probably getting paid well, and he probably made a lot of money. But let's hope he can secure a big fight, because to be brutally honest, you know, his career for me has been a bit of a disappointment. But it can all change if he gets a couple of fights. He'll never have a stellar resume, because I think he's too old now. I think he's got to a stage in his career where he's too old, and I don't think he can have an impressive resume, you know. But who knows if he can finish off with a Golovkin, Canelo, who knows? Maybe, you know, we view him differently. But as of right now, I think he's going to be viewed as a fighter that's underachieved massively, and was fairly, I wouldn't say protected, because he wanted to fight the guys. He just didn't have the commercial value that other fighters had, and he just didn't get the opportunities. You know, people viewed him as high risk, low reward, and he didn't get the opportunities. I think that's how he'll probably be seen. But let's hope he can get some big fights. But moving on, Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis. This is another very hot topic and a very hot talking point in boxing. Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya going back and forth about the negotiations between Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis. Ryan Garcia wants the Tank Davis fight. Look, I don't know, Tank hasn't really spoke much about it, but Mayweather came out the other day, and Mayweather said that when I fought Oscar De La Hoya, he was the A side. I had to choose. He basically chose the gloves. He basically chose the weight class. I had to fight at 154, and I wasn't comfortable at 154. He basically chose everything. You know, I had no control, but I believed in myself, and I believed I was the better fighter. Hence why I moved up there, and hence why I fought Oscar De La Hoya. And he's basically saying to Ryan Garcia, Tank's the A side. So if you believe in yourself, you do that as well. And Oscar De La Hoya replied and said, well, yes, I did choose the gloves. I did choose the weight. I did choose everything when I fought Floyd Mayweather. And if Gervonta Davis believes in himself, then Gervonta Davis should do the same thing. Now, there seems to be a dispute. Floyd Mayweather basically said the fight has to happen at 135 pounds. Right? Firstly, that's a completely different thing to the Oscar De La Hoya situation, because if Ryan Garcia can't make 135 pounds, he can't make 135 pounds. Full stop. You know, you can't say to somebody, well, it has to be 135 pounds when the guy can't make weight. If Ryan Garcia is not comfortable at 135, why does that matter what weight it's at? And the reason why I think Floyd Mayweather and Tank Davis are the ones that would be stopping the fight, if that is the reason why they don't want the fight because of the weight, is because Gervonta Davis fought Mario Barrios at 140 pounds. So that would be a ludicrous and a stupid excuse not to make that fight, because the fight is such a big fight, right? Gervonta Davis and Floyd Mayweather saying that Gervonta smokes Ryan Garcia. If that's the case, and you've already fought 140 pounds, what's the issue? If Ryan Garcia can't make 135 pounds, it's not about sacrifice. He can't make the weight. The difference is with Mayweather fighting Oscar De La Hoya at 154, Mayweather can make 154. Mayweather was too small for 154. That's different, you know, to then someone having to come down and kill himself to make weight. That's completely different. Now, we don't know. Did Ryan Garcia fight at 140 against Javier Fortuno? Was it a catchweight? I don't know. But it's completely different. If Ryan Garcia can't make 135 pounds, he can't make 135 pounds. So that really debunks what Mayweather was saying there. In terms of Ryan Garcia says he doesn't mind it being at any weight. So the fact that Ryan Garcia has said that he doesn't care it being at any weight, that now puts 135 back in play. Because if Ryan Garcia can make that weight, then the fight should happen at 135. Because Gervonta Davis is a 135 pounder. Ryan Garcia was at 135. Although Ryan Garcia is a big guy, and I've said this, Ryan Garcia is a really big guy. I think the fight should happen at 135 if Ryan Garcia can make the weight. But if Ryan Garcia can't make the weight, then it should be at 140. And I don't think that should make a difference, because why would Tank not take the fight it being at 140 when he's fought at 140? He's actually stopped somebody at 140 who's gone up to 147 and fought Keith Thurman, and Keith Thurman couldn't stop that guy. So the point I'm trying to make is Gervonta Davis is very assured and very confident that he will knock out Ryan Garcia. So the weight issue is a ridiculous weight issue. For me, that comes down to ego. And this is the problem when you have egos like Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather promoting. It's egos, because no one wants to give in. Like, basically, Ryan Garcia says, I want the fight at 140. And Mayweather and Tank are probably thinking, nah, we want the fight at 135. It's egos, rather than saying, you know what, let's make the fight. If he wants it at 140, we'll fight him at 140. It's not like it happening at 140 is a massive disadvantage to Tank, is it? It's not a disadvantage to Tank at all. Because Tank's fought at that weight. And Tank's a very explosive fighter. He'd be favourite to knock out Ryan Garcia. So the weight class doesn't make a difference. Like, I'd understand if it was a guy like Chris Eubank and Conor Benn. The size difference between the two is massive. So Conor Benn asking for a catch weight, I have no problem with that, because that's the only way that fight can be made. Otherwise, it'd be a total mismatch. When it comes to this fight, regardless of whether the fight's at 135 or 140, Ryan Garcia is going to have a massive size advantage, right? But most people will be picking Gervonta Davis to knock Ryan Garcia out, whether it's at 135 or 140 anyway. So the point I'm trying to make is, I just think that it's not a good look from Mayweather. And Mayweather has said things in the past that we only make in-house fights. I honestly think that fight between Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis is not a realistic fight, because I think that there's so many egos involved with Oscar and Mayweather, which is going to be a hard hurdle to get over. Then there's a broadcaster issue. Then there's going to be a split issue. There's going to be all of these issues, which is going to make this fight literally impossible to make. So I don't know whether we have any chance of this fight even happening, whether we're just dreaming, because I'll be brutally honest with you, I'm not sure this fight happens next. I just think there's too many hurdles. I think the people involved are very difficult to I just don't see, I don't see this fight happening. I really hope so, and I hope I'm wrong, and I really hope that this fight can happen. But personally, I just don't think that a Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Davis fight is going to happen. That's my honest opinion. As much as I want it to happen, and as much as I would like for it to happen, I'm not sure it does, because I think there's too many egos involved. I think Oscar and Mayweather are going. I just don't think they'll be able to come to reach a deal. You know, and even if they're able to go past the weight, go past the, you know, splits and all of that, the broadcaster issue is a massive, massive problem. You know, Ryan Garcia's on DAZN. They're going to want that fight. And Gervonta Davis and the PBC are going to want it on Fox. And the thing is, with the Gervonta Davis side, Mayweather side, they're very stubborn. So they're going to completely say there's no way it's happening on DAZN. They're going to openly say it. There's no way this fight happens on DAZN. So the PBC side are always very difficult to negotiate with. They're already, whenever it's a fighter that's on a high level that they're involved with, they're very bullish. They want the fight on their platform. They want everything on their terms. So I just think that it's going to be impossible to literally negotiate that fight. I don't see how they're able to negotiate that fight. And as much as I want to see Ryan Garcia v Gervonta Davis, I don't think the fight happens. But then again, that might just be me thinking like that because of what I've experienced in boxing or watching boxing for a long period of time, that, you know, we never get the fights when we want to get them. And these type of fights, the fights that we want, they don't get made, and it doesn't seem like the right time. You know, there's certain times where you think a fight's going to happen. It just doesn't seem like this fight's going to happen right now. You know, it came to a point where Mayweather-Pacquiao, there was a lot of times where we thought the fight was going to happen, but it never seemed like the fight was ever going to happen at the times that they were talking about it. The time just didn't seem right. The same with this fight, you know, and the same when AJ and Fury. I remember people were talking about the fight was going to happen, but something to me didn't smell right. The time just didn't seem right, you know, and even though they were saying that the fight's signed and it's done, right at the end moment, the fight fell through, but it never felt right to me. The same with this Gervonta Davis-Ryan Garcia fight. I know everyone's talking positively. It just doesn't feel right to me. The time just doesn't feel right. Ryan Garcia's come out and said he's willing to do it at any weight. So he says, let's see what the excuses are now. It does look like to me, from looking into it, obviously I'm not behind the scenes. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it does look like it's Floyd Mayweather and the Gervonta side that are holding up this fight. And what I'm startled about, I actually thought that Gervonta Davis' contract was up with Mayweather. So I'm a bit confused to what's actually gone off here. I thought Gervonta Davis' contract was up and he was going to move on, become a free agent. And he openly said this quite a few times. But now Mayweather's still talking as if he's his promoter. So what is actually happening here, you know, with Gervonta Davis? Because surely Gervonta Davis wants this Ryan Garcia fight. Surely. Surely weight doesn't really make a difference, because Gervonta hasn't come out and said that the fight has to happen at 135. See, that for me is an ego thing. Because surely Gervonta Davis is confident of beating Ryan Garcia at 135 or 140. What difference does it really make? It's an ego thing. And this is, sometimes weight matters. In this case, I don't think it does. So for me, it comes down to an ego. It comes down to Floyd Mayweather, Gervonta Davis having an ego. Because really, it doesn't really make much of a difference to them if the fight happens at 140 or 135. Let's be brutally honest. Let's be honest. But it comes down to ego. Like, why should I give in? It should happen on my terms. I'm the A side. You know, sometimes these type of people need to lower that ego and just make the fight. Because firstly, if you don't make the fight, you're not going to benefit financially out of it. Right? And if one of you loses, the fight loses its appeal. So this is an opportunity to make the fight. and give the fight fans a massive fight. Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia would be one of the biggest fights in boxing, period. It would be huge because both of these guys have a huge fan base. So these guys could really milk it, you know, and that's why I think the fight should happen. But I just don't think, with the egos involved, with the personalities, Mayweather, Oscar, who don't really see eye to eye as well, I just don't think the fight happens, to be brutally honest. I don't think the fight happens. And I actually think the fact that Mayweather and Oscar could make the fight even bigger. Can you imagine Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia going at each other, and then Mayweather and Oscar going at each other at the press conference? Imagine how big the fight would be, you know? So I would love to see it. I don't think it happens, but leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about the new format that I'm going to be adopting, you know, doing one video but making it longer. Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.